Hi there, it's Lost again, back with another episode. Today I'm going to finally go through all of my shulker boxes and chests and make sure everything's sorted out and maybe start building a new storage system in the new area I'm going to be settling at while I work on my larger scale projects. As much as I do have myself established in this world, there's a lot of basic farms I don't have. A lot of things are not automated. Most stuff that I have is just manually mined. Like, I just have my sugarcane growing out here. I have my villagers all in a box and I want to move them. I have a manual pumpkin and melon farm. I've got the only really automated thing I have is my skeleton spawner, which is over here. I think this is the ugliest room I've ever built. I was going for either a sort of mangrove ship, spooky, a little bit boat vibed of a room, and then something more like dilapidated, and then this ugly chute is sort of like a combination of both, and I hate it. However, I haven't changed it yet. I think I'm gonna go with this theme as opposed to this theme. But yeah, here's my skeleton spawner. Over here is the way down to all my storage, which is very, very full of bows. I clean it out every once in a while. Let's go back up. As far as other stuff in this world, I haven't explored a whole lot. There is another village sort of near my home over here that I haven't really used very much. Gotta love the lag. There's some horses over here. It's just sort of plains biome, nothing crazy. Plains biome sort of as far as the eye can see, which isn't very far. I'm fairly sure there's an ocean monument near here. My render distance has to stay pretty low. Here we go, back home. Last time I mentioned wanting a beacon, and so I went to the nether and I tried to record, and the lag was making me worry about my safety. And so I was able to get some wither skeleton skulls. I fought the wither down in the deep slate layer so that I could do the thing where you spawn it and it basically just attacks you and mines out the deep slate, and then kill it when you're done mining deep slate. And so I did that, and it ended up blasting through into a cave, which was not ideal. Not ideal at all. And I realized, looking at this beacon, you might be wondering, why aren't you filling out this middle layer before you're starting the bottom layer? Which I know it probably looks crazy. The reason is stupid in that I want this entire layer to be emerald, and I just need to trade some more with villagers to get the rest of my emerald blocks. Which, this looks like someone took a giant bite out of it. It looks really stupid right now, but we're gonna ignore that. There's bigger problems. Bigger problems like, what the hell is happening over here? I'm not really a redstone girly. By saying not a redstone girly, I mean I don't really do it, other than going, I need this basic farm. How do I build it? And looking up a tutorial on YouTube. With this, it's a very basic design, but what I did is I brought this concept over to a creative world, and I figured out that I could fit a line of, I think, 29 blocks of sugarcane growing at once with one observer and one line of redstone without repeaters, and then using minecart rails to go underneath and collect the sugarcane, beginning a signal with the observer. I could bring the signal down and power a powered rail, which would move a hopper minecart back and forth. And I was doing it so that the minecart would just pass through once, and then when next time it triggered, it would pass through the other way, and only one side would have a collection system. So I might show you that, because I'm proud of myself. It's not a very complicated farm at all, but I never make farms. I usually do everything manually, which takes forever and makes you get sick of the game. So let's take a look. So here it is. It's just one line. This little observer here looks pretty stupid, but basically what I have here is a line of, I think, 29 pistons, and then sugarcane growing, and every time this observer gets triggered by a piece of sugarcane growing. This signal, it'll send a signal down. It'll power the minecart. The pistons will all trigger at once, and the sugarcane will go from the hopper minecart down into this hopper, down into that chest. And over here on the opposite side, it does not have a collection system because I thought it would be nice to just put everything on one side. And I don't foresee this filling up the entire hopper minecart because that would take, what, like 5 stacks of items to do that? And I know it won't do that, so. And I put my redstone on planks, which I know is probably a little weird, but I wanted to be able to have a fun color and also count every 5 so that I knew that, like, my signal strength of, or my signal length of 15, which is the maximum that it can travel without a repeater, was long enough and could make it over here. And unfortunately, I did build these arbitrary walls that I wanted this redstone thing to sit inside of, but while I was figuring out the minecart thing, I didn't know how else to thread the signal down, because it's not like the redstone dust could go over the piston, and it couldn't go further because it would run out of signal. And if I put the repeater here, which is the very last spot it could go, this piston wouldn't trigger, and I wanted like the most amount of sugarcane for one observer. So I threaded it out through the back, down here, and then it will trigger both sides. And then in the middle there is just a singular powered rail and redstone block. Now, something I wanted to test with this was to see if I placed a bunch of sugarcane, would it really pick up everything in one go? Because I don't know if there's some sort of limit on hopper minecarts, like speed at which they can pick items up. So I'm gonna just throw a bunch of sugarcane in. I don't know if it's more or less than would normally be put in, and then I'm gonna trigger the observer just to see if it picks everything up. Okay, I must have thrown, what, like 44-ish? 50. Okay, it picks up everything. That is wonderful news. I didn't know how there's a delay or anything. Gosh, so much lag. My computer sucks. I'm just on a MacBook Air. Don't judge me. But yeah, here's my first redstone contraption that I did myself. I had never like messed around with stuff like this. Like, it just scares me. Repeaters and comparators scare me, but I'm hoping to change that because I want to sort of, I feel like there are some things in Minecraft that I know a lot about and some things that I know nothing about, and I would rather be like a jack of all trades and have some semblance of knowledge of like a lot of different things than be like, this is the one thing I can do and I can do it really well, but it's only one thing. Yeah, and I would say what I'm good at is building small scale and building detailed. I want to work on building larger scale, and I want to work on my ability to actually understand and use and come up with my own redstone solutions, I guess. Let's go back to the survival world. I'm going to do a little time lapse of cleaning all this up and reorganizing it, and then I'll name the shulker boxes and show you my system. So I use a color coding system for my shulker boxes. Usually I like to have colors for specific things, like for my wood I usually have orange boxes, for dirt they're brown, for plant stuff they're green, stuff like that. And I like to have extras for like cleaning up projects or storing specific items. Like I put a lot of stone in gray boxes, and I like to have one for my skeleton farm and a potential creeper farm. Okay, I decided on this area rather than over there for my house that I'm moving to away from the main area. Partly because it's a little bit further out, partly because there's just a lot of sand over there, and I'm gonna want to be doing a lot of terraforming in that region and in this region, but over here right by the ocean, I think I'll leave it untouched for a while, so if I build a house here, it won't need to be torn down or anything anytime soon. This is like super long-term stuff, so but yeah, I'm gonna get started and I will check back in when I've gotten some stuff done. Okay, so we've done some work on the house. The downstairs and upstairs are both in. The main roof isn't, but part of like the side roof is. As you can see over here, it's sort of this weird mix of cobblestone and deep slate. The shaping is a little bit odd. I was determined to try out cherry wood, and I am not a fan of it in large amounts, I've discovered, so decorating this and making it look nice and detailing it will definitely take a lot of work, but yeah. I thought I'd give it a shot. Now, I did something up here that I kind of like. I don't know how it looks at night yet, but I started putting some lichen on the deep slate to blend it into the cobblestone, and I really like how that looks. And this looks ugly from up here, but if you look at it from ground level, this is sort of me combating the fact that I miscounted and made my roof an even number of blocks. It looks like a real roof would with texture. Over here I made a lichen and basically any sort of vegetation growing machine. It's a little bit chaotic. I haven't totally figured out the mechanic. But this has been useful for getting enough lichen for my roof. Shut this off. Yeah, now we can see what it looks like at night. How much is this roof glowing? Now this house is going to be, I'm going to fix that so it extends all the way out to here. This house is going to be surrounded by some pretty expansive gardens, very manicured, but also some like more wild stuff. I want the story behind it, or like its inhabitant, to be some sort of botanist. I don't know if I like it everywhere. I wonder how it would look if I just left the lichen between the deep slate and the cobblestone. How would this look if I just left patches of it? I like that better. Sort of like leave some areas blank. Yeah, like that. Or like this. Kind of connect them. I think this section should be covered in lichen though. I'm gonna sleep if I can. Gosh, I've barely lit this place up. Let's see here. You can probably sleep before they get to me, right? Yeah. No, you're fine. Okay, so while the house looks pretty terrible, at least the upstairs part, probably the downstairs part, one could argue as well. I know exactly why I don't like it, and so I'm gonna fix it. What I'm thinking of doing, especially with these windows, is adding shutters and maybe mixing in some sort of terracotta block in order to break up the monotony of and obnoxiousness of the cherry wood, like I have with the downstairs. And I might also strip these logs because I think that will be a little bit less busy looking. I kind of like how this looks better. So I might go ahead and do that with all of the dark oak logs. But yeah, I thought I'd just give you an update and show you the ugly stage of this house because it is incredibly ugly, but I'm determined to make it not so. I also just really like the view. Big ocean out here. Should be a lovely place for this botanist to live. And around here, I kind of want it so that like maybe this botanist is not from this area and that it's kind of a house that holds a lot of, maybe it's haunted or maybe the locals just sort of dislike it. I might end up dismantling a little bit so it looks a bit dilapidated, making it look older, making it look weathered, because I sort of want the locals to sort of steer clear of this place and to have it sort of be odd or off-putting, but not in like a dangerous way, in a way that like the locals might be scared of it, but the person who lives here is really cool and probably misunderstood. But they definitely got the house on a discount or for free completely because it's haunted. Why is it haunted? I don't know. But basically, I think that through sort of using Minecraft to as like a limited palette for building and for creating a storyline, like I wanted to build a house out of the way. Here's where it is. I didn't have an idea of like a botanist in my story, but now I do because for some reason my brain gravitates towards putting some sort of scientist in a house that is secluded, or someone doing research, or like a poet or something, someone who would be a little bit more disconnected from the general public in order to do their research, like a fanatic of some sorts. So I think that like this house housing someone who actively chose to still live in a place that may or may not be haunted would be sort of cool. But yeah, I definitely need to make it look a lot less cheery and a lot more overgrown. And I definitely need to add in some more blocks in the roof because I hate the current combination of blocks. I was trying to not use stairs, and I don't know how I feel about it. I always use stairs on my roofs. I never do like completely straight roofs. I like to do curved roofs a lot, but I thought I would just simplify it. But yeah, the cherry wood is really, really messing with my brain and I don't like it. And after sort of finagling with heights of different parts of the house, I feel like I landed on something that isn't as great as it could be, but it's better than what I started with, so I'm just gonna roll with it and change some things and see how it goes. I don't know why this window is weird. But yeah, this is what we have so far. I'm gonna check in a little bit. Alright, so I'm back. I did quite a bit of work on the house. I've gotten it to a point that I actually really, really like it. Drastic changes from before. I went to my villager area and traded for some white terracotta and some pink glazed terracotta, and I mixed those in with like the cherry wood. And then we also have a lot more lichen on the roof, but like better distributed. It looks a lot nicer. Look at it! Oh my goodness! My FOV makes it hard to see, but I'll show you the roof really quick and then I'll show you the upstairs. I changed it. Still like have the too wide, unfortunately, over here, but I made it so that there were walls like alternating up here, and I think that is a lot more visual interest than just having like the straight line of walls, which didn't look great. As far as like down here, our first floor is all oak, and there's dark oak trapdoors, and then behind that are cherry trapdoors. And then in some areas I couldn't like put trapdoors right here, so I put them on the outside like shutters, like this could slide open. Sort of the same situation back here too. It's hard to see though. And then if you go inside, we got a little coffee table and this little corner, which might be stairs down to a basement. I'm not sure yet. And up here, nothing detailed in yet, but we've got some pretty cute walls to use as like a blank canvas. Out here is like a little secret exit from the second floor if I want to like fly out easily. Then there's a banister. It's not as obvious now, but most of the pink terracotta is up high. And I thought that since this is like an old house, maybe it has some water damage. And so I thought of maybe making this leaky, but I didn't color it super well, but sort of the idea is like the floor maybe is like stained. I need a darker color than dark oak. Probably like some sort of stone. Or like a cartographer table or something if it's darker than this, I'm not sure. Anyway, I gotta decorate in here, but basically this house, the main function of this house is to be my new home base. Now that I am moving away from this area over here, where just too many entities for my poor computer to handle, as you can tell, much lag, too many villagers specifically, and goodness gracious, it's miserable. But yeah, this big house here, extremely detailed. I'm probably going to pare it back. And I gotta move myself out of here and back in over here. The goal is to eventually, oh look at it, it looks so cute. The goal is to have all my farms and things spread out all across the city without overwhelming one area too much. So having like a creeper farm in one area and redstone machines in another area and villagers in a third area, all while every farm makes sense where it sits and there's like cohesiveness and it's all pretty. So that's the goal, the end goal. It's gonna take a while, but yeah, I think that might be about it for this episode. It's kind of been all over the place. I know I showed you some redstone stuff, and in the beginning I may or may not have done a time lapse of like storage, but I'm not entirely in love with those clips, so I might take them out. I'm not entirely sure. However, either way, this was very fun, and if you felt that I was a little bit silly while I was working on this, like, wow, it's gotta get through an ugly phase. There's always an ugly phase of my builds, and this is by no means my favorite build I've ever made, but I am proud of how far it's come, and I'm a lot more open to incorporating pink into my builds now that I see that, oh, there is quite a lot of possibility with the color. And I do quite like the door. The door is cute, and I like the trapdoors more than the doors, I think. I don't like this little round handle in the middle. Just not with this door. I think with another door it'd look cuter. But I love these trapdoors. They're so whimsical. And yeah, I can place things on these windowsills, and then on this windowsill down here. I'm not exactly sure where I want my storage system yet. I kind of am considering having a basement, like a grindy basement, that maybe has nothing to do with the rest of the storyline I have for this house. However, out here, I'll just highlight my plan super quick and then end things, but I do really, really want gardens out here, specifically peonies. On my ender chest, it's up there. But I thought of planting a bunch of peonies out here, a bunch of pink petals, tulips, white tulips, azure bluets, all those sort of colors that will go well together, like whites and pinks and blues. And then putting up some big walls around and some custom trees to sort of enclose the house. And then as I build in the custom trees and the walled gardens and make everything look overgrown, maybe I'll chip away at the house a little bit to also make it look old, because the only thing making it look old currently is the lichen and the variation in tones. Originally, when I was going to use white terracotta, I was like, oh, this is like the sun bleached panels of the house, and then oh, that's like the original color. But I don't think that it ended up looking that way because I didn't really execute it in that way. But mixing a bunch of different shades of pink was really fun, and I'm for sure going to use it again in the future. However, this episode is probably getting quite lengthy. I fixed the roof. It looked so weird before. I don't know how many of those clips I'm leaving in. I might take more of that out because I'm embarrassed. But yeah, I was like talking about the house, fully having faith in myself to make it look nicer while it was like looking absolutely atrocious, and I felt quite silly about it. So I gotta remember to like explain my plans in order to restore faith in whoever might be watching this, that I do in fact have a plan for the house, and I want the house to look a certain way, and I know it doesn't look like that way at the time, but yeah. Again, I think that's all I have for you today. I'm going to get to decorating the house and moving the rest of my things back in from the diorite house that I have back behind me over there that's out of render distance because I'm on 8 chunks like a loser. And I will give you a tour around, show you how and in which ways I'm working on redecorating, or I guess decorating, moving my decorations, and setting up my new storage system over here, and maybe throwing in some farms if I have time. But I hope you enjoyed the little redstone segment, even though I didn't do any redstone in this video other than in creative. And if there was a silly segment at the beginning about storage, I feel like I've grown as a person since then. Like, I feel like my video style has already started to rear its head, and now I am embarrassed of the clips I literally made like several days ago. However, certified yapper signing off. I'm lost. I hope you stick around. Well, I'm not lost, but I'm lost, and I hope you stick around if you're watching this, and I hope you enjoy Minecraft as much as I do, and showing it to you, which is quite fun. I hope you have the loveliest day. Bye bye.